Yes, that was the rattle of keys in a lock. Portuguese keys for a Portuguese sailor's sea chest. Did these keys unlock the mystery of a Portuguese discovery of Australia? Let's find out. Some historians suggest it was the Portuguese who discovered Australia. It wasn't the Dutchman Willem Jansz in 1606, nor his countryman Abel Tasman in 1642. Lieutenant James Cook on Australia's east coast in 1770? No. According to many people, none of these men could claim to be the first. They think it was the Portuguese. In the 1500s and 1600s, the Portuguese sailed the world and claimed colonies that could enhance their national wealth. In competition with Spain, they set out to claim half of the world. Today's program investigates the possibility that the Portuguese may have landed in Corio Bay in the 1500s. If this is true, it rewrites Australian history. I'm standing on Geelong's waterfront on Hearns Parade, overlooking Corio Bay. It's a beautiful day. I can see the Yuyangs clearly across the bay, and 500 metres to my left is Eastern Beach. 300 metres to my right is Limeburners Point. If you can, come down and see this place. You'll find a massive bluestone boulder with a commemorative plaque attached. It was placed here by Rotary in 1979. The message on the plaque explains where the keys were found.
In 1847, they were found on this site in Limeburner Boucher's kiln 15 feet below the surface of the ground. The Geelong Keys reported by Superintendent Governor C. J. Latrobe. Some believe the keys to be a relic of the Portuguese expedition under Cristóvão Mendonça, which visited the coast in 1522. Though the keys have been lost, there has been wide conjecture about their origin. Was it English or Portuguese or what?
Next to the boulder is a brightly painted bollard of a Portuguese sailor, designed and crafted by Jan Mitchell. Behind the sailor's back is a set of keys. I'm about 15 metres from the shore. It's the lowest point in a hollow in the landscape. It's hard to imagine this area was a former limestone quarry. Keys were found in a trench dug by Limeburner Boucher. They were 3 metres under the ground level. One dating of the soil stratum where they were found suggests that they were there for approximately 150 years. Do I really believe that these keys were Portuguese and they were dropped here in the 1500s? No, definitely not. Why? The answer is simple. I looked at the evidence. Primary sources from that time tell us the keys in all probability were of a modern origin when they were discovered in the late 1840s. What's more, they've disappeared. Let's look at the facts and the evidence. The story goes that a limeburner found a set of keys in a hole he dug in a lime quarry on the Corio Bay waterfront. He then took the keys to his hut. It was at the beginning of October in 1849. Victoria wasn't a colony then, but an administrative district of New South Wales called Port Phillip District. Victoria didn't become a colony until July 1851. Leader of the district was Superintendent Charles Joseph Latrobe. Latrobe was inspecting the lime quarry and commenting on the depth of a hole dug by a lime burner and the layer of shells about 3 metres down. The lime burner said he found a set of keys at the stratum and went to his hut to get them. According to the lime burner, he found 3 keys, about 5 centimetres or 2 inches long, but one had been lost by his children who'd been playing with them. But still, he handed over the 2 remaining keys to Latrobe. Superintendent Latrobe wrote about the keys.
There could be no question but that they were keys, very little, if any way, corroded with rust, very similar to those of the present day, except that they were a little longer in the shank and the wards smaller than is now usual. They were just of the description used for a box or trunk or seaman's chest.
Latrobe thought they were old, not by their appearance, but by their position in the ground.
I should judge from the form that they were not more than 100 or 150 years old at most. The position in which they were found gave me the impression of their having been dropped on the beach at the time when the shell bed formed the shoreline.
So how does this link to the Portuguese? The earliest recorded entry into Port Phillip by a European was William Bowen in January 1802. Flinders also entered Port Phillip and Corio Bay at the end of April 1802, followed by Charles Grimes the same year. These people were in Port Phillip about 47 years before the keys were found. It wasn't possible for them to own the keys. No previous European entry to Port Phillip meant other Europeans must have been here before. Abel Tasman wasn't a contender because he left precise charts about his discoveries. No other Dutch maps show a knowledge of Bass Strait. The nearest place of their discoveries was Ceduna in South Australia. The Portuguese had a colony in Timor from 1521. Some historians speculate that they had 3 ships looking for Ferdinand Magellan in the Pacific. It's claimed that one sank near Warrnambool and another needed repairs and pulled into Corio Bay. There's no current evidence of the ship or presence in Corio Bay. It's speculation that if they did come here, a sailor lost his keys. Mathematician and Melbourne lawyer Kenneth McIntyre put forward his case in his book The Secret Discovery of Australia, Portuguese Ventures 200 Years Before Cook. McIntyre used his mathematical skills to convert Portuguese maps into the modern Mercator projection. When he converted the 16th century Portuguese map called Java Grande, it showed a perfect outline of Australia's coast from Broome all the way along the northern coastline to Warrnambool. He claims the map shows a knowledge of the places where the mahogany ship was seen near Warrnambool, and Geelong Keys were found in Corio Bay. Another recent publication by journalist Peter Trickett, called Beyond Capricorn, also outlines the theory of a Portuguese discovery. The story of the keys faded from view for over 20 years. Then in 1874, Mr. T. E. Rawlinson addressed the Royal Society of Victoria, and he recalled the story of where, when, and how the keys were found. Rawlinson quoted Latrobe directly in his speech. To check the lime burner's veracity of his claim, Latrobe investigated the site to see if the keys could be there due to a landslip or animal intervention such as a wombat hole. Rawlinson concluded his talk by speculating they might have been dropped by buccaneers 200 or 300 years before. So, there you have it. Now, let's look at the evidence. One of the first sources we should check comes from a former colleague of Superintendent Latrobe, and he saw him with the keys immediately after they were picked up. His name is Ronald Campbell Gunn. Gunn also spoke at the Royal Society of Victoria 1 year after Rawlinson. Gunn said,
I visited the spot where the keys were discovered. On questioning the lime burner, I ascertained that he did not pick the keys out of the stratum of shells at the depth alleged, but found them at the bottom of the hole, mixed with some shells, and assumed that they had dropped along with them. The keys were small, about the size ordinarily used for chests of drawers, of very modern make, not encrusted with lime, and very slightly eroded with rust.
Gunn didn't believe the keys were embedded in the stratum with the shells, nor did he believe in their antiquity. Gunn spoke to Latrobe about his doubts and about their heritage and provenance, and thought the matter was concluded, and then Latrobe raised the matter again 20 years on. What about the mahogany ship? For many years the Victorian government issued a $250,000 reward for anyone who could find it. Despite years of searching, the reward was never claimed, and it's no longer available. Reputable settlers in the Warrnambool area in the 1800s did see the wreck. It was just a skeleton buried in the dunes, and it had been there clearly for many years. Proof of its association with Portugal is not determined, but just speculated. There are other factors about the story. Some claim there were 5 keys. Some dates cite 1845, 1846. But Gunn was there, and he said it was 1849. It seems that Latrobe's knowledge of the data stratum layers was not that accurate. From today's knowledge of deposits in that area, if they were found 15 feet down, it would put the keys at over 2,000 years old. Apparently, Latrobe made a sketch of the keys, but both the keys and the sketch are lost. It seems more likely that the keys were dropped by a resident at the time, and the claims that the Portuguese were in Coria Bay is doubtful. So, did a Portuguese sailor drop his keys on the shore of Coria Bay in the 1500s? I'll let you be the judge. Mystery Keys, or Keys to a Mystery, was the first in my Explorers of Victoria programs. I hope you enjoyed it. Join me next time as we travel back in time more than 220 years. Additional voices: Carla Roberts, David Underhay, and Adam Roberts. Thanks for listening. Tune in again and join me if you have a few moments in time.